Hey, how are you?
Good. Did you get my text with the password?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, we
But
had pretty bad weather yesterday, and the internet was out at the college. So I what and it was a mess.
yeah, apparently ours was kind of messed up here too.
Yeah, it was just a day late. Oh, it was messed up there.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much everywhere that I was messing with the internet yesterday was slow and messed up. But oh well.
Well, I tell you what, now that storm hit, we didn't get a lot of accumulation. Uh, but boy, it sure got cold. It was down in the teens the last 2 nights.
Yeah,
Yesterday, I think it got up to 20 degrees.
yeah, we were that cold at night, but we did warm up into the 30s yesterday.
I would
But
have
it's
been
plenty.
that'd have been nice for the 20s.
Yes, it's plenty cold again this
Hopefully it's
morning too.
not. Supposed to get up in the 30s today, so maybe things will thaw out a little bit.
Woohoo! Break out the shorts and the sunscreen.
It'll get hot about 9:40 tonight when Tech takes on
Oh,
Wisconsin.
Keith says it'll get hot at 9:40 tonight when Tech takes on Wisconsin.
You doggone right it will. And the sad thing is, Keith, as much as I want to watch that game, I have to go to Illinois Friday. Uh, and I'll be back Saturday night. One of my clients, I've got his horse in the barn, called me. He said, Dwayne, he said, what are you doing this weekend? I said, well, I'm riding horses between rain, the way the weather looks. He says, well, I've been accepted to do that Mustang makeover. And I got to go out to Illinois to pick up my horse. Will you go with me? Because my other buddy canceled out on me. And I really don't want to drive there by myself and drive back. He said, I'll cover everything. I just need the company and need help driving. You know,
What was
and
that about?
he's got his horse in my barn. It's been in my barn for several months. It went home for about 6 weeks. That's it. So I couldn't really tell him no. You know what I mean?
What was that about a 12-hour
So
drive?
what's that?
Keith was asking, is that about a 12-hour drive?
Where we're going, MapQuest says it's 8.5 hours.
Which MapQuest seems to overestimate your time to travel, so it might be more like 7.5. That's what we found.
You
I
know,
can't get my wife. I can't get my wife to use Google Maps, so
well, it's just MapQuest is on my phone or whatever that apps is on my phone. It it may be Google Maps, it may be MapQuest. I don't know. Whatever standard icon, the standard little icon thing on my phone is what it is.
well then
But
that's probably if you're not running an Android, then it's going to be Google Maps. I mean, if you are running Android, it's Google Apps. If you're running an iPhone, it's Apple Maps, and good luck with that.
well, I've got an iPhone.
Yeah. I don't know how they do for timing, but hope they don't drive you into a river somewhere.
Well, it's done pretty good for me in the past. It gave us two routes to go. We can go hit Interstate 40 and go out there to Nashville and then go up, or we can take 64. 64 is shorter mileage wise, but it says the time is the same either way we go. So I guess I'd sooner go 64 as I would try to hit Knoxville and that bypass because they're always constructing, whether you go through 40 or go through that bypass in Knoxville. Then you got that Nashville deal. Then you got to get off there and go up, I guess, into Bowling Green and up through there. So I think 64 looks like a straighter shot, and it's about 50 to 100 miles less. So I can't understand the why the time is the same.
Wouldn't you take 77 and then hit 64 and then hit 75?
Good. The MapQuest. I don't know where 75 runs. I don't think I've ever been on that.
That takes you up north towards Ohio. Then you'd cut over. I forgot what road it is
This is
then.
in southern Illinois, from what the
Yeah.
map showed.
Okay.
And I can hit 77, and where we get on 77 at Withful,
Right. Right.
because I'm going to his house and then I'm leaving from his place. He's there at Withful.
Yeah.
Instead of me, I just don't want to leave my truck somewhere sitting in Bluefield. Uh, we'll take 77 to Beckley and get on 64 West,
You're right.
and so I'm not going to be on 77, but a few miles, and then 64 that will take you all the way to St. Louis, and then in
Right.
St. Louis it turns into Interstate 70.
Right. Right. That's what I was remembering.
But this is right before, how you go out of Louisville and then you hit Indiana,
Right.
and
Right.
then you hit a little bit in Illinois, then you hit St. Louis.
Yeah.
This is in that Illinois part. It looks like it's right off of. It looks like it's just right off of 64.
Okay. Now, when you have a horse in a trailer, is he restrained or is he just kind of there to kind of wander
This will
around?
be loose. We're going to take out the stall dividers and run him into the trailer and shut the doors.
Okay.
This is a Mustang that he's doing the Mustang makeover, and so they don't know how to lead. You can't handle them. You can't do nothing with them. I think they were drugged and castrated if he's got a gelding, and got their shots and coggins where they ran them into a chute somehow
Okay.
and did that. But this horse doesn't know anything. So we'll probably put it back into a chute like loading up cattle, where you just got an alleyway and he just got to go forward
Okay.
and get into the trailer.
How do horses take being in a trailer? Or they like dogs in the car, or are they just kind of just sit there and do it and take it?
I haven't had too many issues with that. They don't like to load up
Okay.
because it's a hollow sounding deal when they step on that trailer, and it's dark and it's enclosed. And if you think about how a horse's psychology is, they're a fight or flight animal.
Okay.
And they like to flight because they're a prey animal. But once you get them trained to load up and stuff in the trailer, it's usually not hard on them. This Mustang, he may be moving around quite a bit or something. I don't know. I haven't dealt with them, the Mustangs. So I figure it'd be about like hauling a cow back. So just throw him in the trailer and let him go.
Yeah.
Be the safest.
Speaking of horses, I was reading VMI where they have the Stonewall Jackson memorial there. They have his horse stuffed, and I guess they have done all they can to preserve him. And I think he's at the end of the road. So if anybody wants to see, I forgot the horse's name.
Trigger?
No.
I don't. Was it Old Sorrel?
Traveler. That's Robert E. Lee's horse. That's
Traveler is Robert E. Lee's horse.
Anyway,
Stonewall's. Was it Old Sorrel?
That might be it. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, I guess that they're going to probably have to finally bury the horse. So if you want to see him.
Oh, I knew they had Robert E. Lee's horse up there.
No, he's buried. He's buried. Traveler's buried. He's Stonewall Jackson's horse.
Stonewall, okay. 'Cause we were up there a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Well, a year ago.
I don't guess they last forever. Roy Rogers, Trigger, probably is getting close to his last leg as well, isn't he?
Yeah, I guess the hair is falling off, or what, I'm not exactly how they stuffed it, but I remember seeing it years ago myself.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know how they do it in the past. Now what they do is they skin it out and tan the hide.
Yeah.
And then whether it's a deer head or bear, whatever. I don't know about a bear rug, but they skin all that hide off and they tan it.
Okay.
And then they use a foam mount. Years ago, it used to be plaster, so that thing's probably pretty heavy.
Okay.
Now it's just styrofoam, and then they sew everything back on and paint it up and put in glass sides and stuff.
Yeah.
But anyway, Jasmine and Aaron, are y'all there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
The exam is on Blackboard. It is password protected again. So you have to go to the testing center to take it. And just get that done as soon as you can. And it does cover from where we left off after the first exam up through chapter 10. So I'm wanting to get through chapter 10 today. Because that will be on the exam.
We can hear you, but we can't see you.
I wonder why.
Can you see us?
And my for some reason my screens up here aren't working. They're my television screens. So I don't know why it's not. Can you see the computer?
No, we're seeing
It's
nothing
just
but
a
black.
black screen.
Huh. Well, let me go get somebody. I don't know why that's not working. But I've played with the computer. I've been playing with that. It didn't matter. But obviously it does.
So while he's out there, do y'all have any questions about anything else going on? Just heads up, registration for summer classes actually has started now. They'll start registering for fall classes here in a couple of weeks. So there's that. And I sent y'all a couple of emails here in the last couple of days about internships or summer job, that kind of thing. I encourage you to look at that. There's some interesting prospects going on there.
I did email Jerry just to let him know that I talked to the guy at Virginia State University about blackberries, and then in our conversation, he said he wanted to start with bees, and so I'm supposed to go out there and help him get his bee stuff started.
Is that Jerry Tuttle? Yeah, because actually one of our students at South Boston, she's interested in doing that internship thing that he's got already.
So do we do anything with Virginia State University? I didn't even know they had.
But Jasmine, Aaron, y'all are happy with everything? Any questions, any issues, anything about anything?
Can't think of anything.
Be sure to pick your NCAA bracket before this afternoon when the games start.
I'm not a big basketball fan.
You or me either, but I usually manage to do well in the betting pools, though. I've actually made money a couple of times on it for somebody that knows absolutely nothing about it. But the one thing I will say is we don't have any agriculture classes this summer. But when it is time for fall registration, like I say, that should start here in a week or two. I do encourage y'all to go ahead and sign up early because where enrollment is down for the college, the college is like looking at what they need to do. And it would be nice if y'all have like already got signed up for the classes that y'all are going to take. So it's kind of a vote that, not that I think they're in danger of doing anything to our program or anything at this point, but I think we've got enough numbers. But still, if we don't want classes to get canceled and that kind of stuff, we need to have humans in them. And if you get financial aid, you can go ahead and apply for next year's financial aid now. Summer school, I think, is still on this year's financial aid, but the fall is on the next year's financial aid. So especially where you've got a couple weeks before registering, if you do get financial aid, go ahead and get the paperwork done now so that when you do register for classes, you won't be signing up and then get dropped a couple of days later, which is pretty annoying. But they drop you if you haven't paid. And I encourage you even to fill out the financial aid paperwork anyway, because if you were to apply for a scholarship or anything like that, the first thing they look at is your financial aid forms. So that's going to be a necessary step in applying for a scholarship too. And you might end up, even if you don't think you qualify, you might end up qualifying for something. So hey, give it a whack. It's only time, and if you're still dependent on your parents, it's their tax paperwork, not yours.
You also might let folks know.
All right, guys, we're working on it. We've got to go get some other people, see what they think. It may be, I don't know what it is. I don't think it's the connection. I think it's their camera or something.
Mainly.
So we may just have to deal with that, and I apologize for the technical glitches.
Keith reminded me of something. Those internship summer program job things that I sent out the last couple of days. If you do one of those things, talk to either Dixie or myself, because you might we do it as a internship through the college, to where all you have to do is after you finish doing the work, write up a little report, and you can get credit for it. You can get up to 5 credit hours worth of credit, so that could cover a couple of your ag electives. Just on the side, as you get the work experience. It depends on which one you get and how many hours you work. But you work, you get the experience, you get the paycheck, and you write this little report and you get college credit too. So something to think about, especially if you have some spare time.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Keith is saying you have to write a log of keeping up with what you did each week, like a weekly log and stuff of what you did, because ultimately your report is, I learned about artificial insemination of cows this week, and we talked about extracting and injecting and getting your hand up to their cervix and all that kind of fun stuff. And so it can be pretty much that simple, but just lay out, these are the things that I learned during the course of the internship. And if you write it down each week, then you'll have it to look at the end of the summer when it's time for you to write up your report. You won't go, I can't remember what I did. You'll have it written down. So, but anyway, a lot of valuable experience. Dwayne, in case you didn't know, one of our things that we're talking about is at the Ag Research Station here in Blackstone. And then another one we have is with a guy that's running a nursery kind of thing, raising blackberries and stuff here in Lunenburg County. So,
okay,
interesting variety there for these two that just came through.
Yeah, I think you ought to do, the internship would be a good deal if you're looking for a different summer job, or have time to do it, especially the Blackstone research on those research stations. You get involved in all sorts of stuff, and you make a lot of good connections.
Yeah,
So,
when Dixie forwarded me the email, she's like, and that's how I got started. So apparently a long time ago, she was working at that research station.
Yeah, when I was in Nebraska doing my master's program, I was on a research station, and we hired a lot of high school and college kids, uh, the different departments, and they enjoyed it. I mean, it was hard work. Don't get me wrong, depending on what they were doing. Some were dealing with in the corn, some were dealing with horticulture, some with range management. Um, but it was they all enjoyed it. So, and they were working also with research. So it kind of a different deal than just you know uh, it's pretty fun job as long as you don't break your leg or knee or something out there collecting data. Right, Keith?
It's a learning experience, and the thing that I liked about it was all the different people that were there. That there were some people doing internships, I think, from Ireland when I was there, and then you're on the cutting edge. Stuff you read about, there are actually people doing it. The big thing that was going on was one of the largest Angus herds outside of the United States is, and believe it or not, is Saudi Arabia. They don't use the for cattle for meat. They do it for cheese production. That's the big thing. And the guy was talking about how they established a herd. They got them all lined up, left LaGuardia Airport on a big transit cargo plane. And I think it's like 12 hours or so. They fly them over there and unload them. But the big problem is feed them, because Saudi Arabia is based in the desert. So Virginia Tech is working, I believe, with conjunction with Ohio State, and they are, the big hay bales that you see around here are too big to transport, and are compressing them down to like the same energy mass, but in a much condenser. It's like in a barrel size thing. It was pretty interesting how they do all that stuff. And
Yeah, I've seen the compressed square bells, but not the
yeah, so
compressed round.
and
All
and the
right,
thing that
go ahead.
oh and the thing that I thought was most of the connections you met there, at least of course I was the old guy there, but a lot of them were meeting with people and they were going to tech and they were able to kill two birds with one stone because they got, as undergraduates, started working on their research project and stuff, getting it going and getting paid for it. And then when they got to tech, half of it was already done, so they were cutting their graduate time down.
Yeah, so it's a good experience and it's fun. And like Keith said, you're on the cutting edge of research. So uh, let's get back over here to HR and get through chapter 10 because that will be on the exam. Uh, the other day we were talking about involving workers in decision making, delegating out authority, and we said the crux decision making is the crux of management, and that communication and interpersonal skills are key for success in involving workers in decision making. And that's going to be a test question, guys. I'll just tell you that. You need to know communication and interpersonal skills. Uh, we talked about why some supervisors have a tight rein. We talked about the fear and insecurity of supervisors. Um, they like the authority, and some of them feel that workers can't make decisions or handle responsibility. Um, we kind of went into that in detail and telling stories and stuff. And then we kind of talked about to what extent do you involve the workers, where you can, we went over that. You can tell them, you can sell them, you can check with them, you can include them, or you can involve them, or the different levels of involvement. And that's another test question, by the way. Uh, so the supervisors, we talked a little bit about attributes of supervisors, uh, their own beliefs and personalities as for involving workers. Some have that need for control and certainty. Uh, their leadership habits and inclinations, and the confidence they have in workers, and just their value system. Um, would be some of the attributes for involving or not involving their their workers. And what about employee? That's kind of what we went over the other day, just kind of shot through that. What about the attributes of the employees? What type of attributes do you think they need to have to be involved in decision making?
Show up, ready to work.
Yeah, they need to be dependable and responsible, right? Any others you can think of? You want them, they, you want workers that are accountable for their actions. If something goes wrong, they don't blame it on somebody else. They'll just say, "Hey, that's my bad." They don't try to pawn it off on something else. Um, and you don't want workers that just pretend to follow directions or try to make you feel guilty because you asked them to do something. Man, I'm already covered up. You want me to do more? You don't want that type of attitude. So um, basically, you want them to be responsible and dependable, have that can-do attitude, and they're accountable for their actions. Uh, y'all agree with that?
Yes.
Jasmine and Aaron?
Yes.
Okay. Uh, so remember, you got workers and you're delegating out authority or delegating out tasks and authority. You, as a supervisor, need to have good communication skills and interpersonal skills. Uh, that's the key to success with that. So, when we think about who we're hiring for our jobs, uh, we want to hire competent employees, right? Because ideally, we want them to progress and contribute more to our company and to be able to grow. And like Tom and Keith, for you talking the other day, uh, they wanted, the supervisors were evaluated on how well the workers climbed that chain of command. That they hired workers, they trained them, and they moved up the company ladder. Uh, so there's some skills that we want to look for and traits in our workers when we hire them. So that when we start including them and involving them in decision making and giving them more responsibility, they're going to be more successful. So we want them to have knowledge and experience uh, relevant to the task. Now, I know that we may hire somebody without experience or without a lot of knowledge, but then as supervisors, we've got to train them. So there's pros and cons. You can train them the way you want them trained to do that stuff, or you can hire them and they already know how to do it, but it may be different than what you know. That makes sense? Uh, you want them to be interested in the company and in the issues at stake, and understand the importance of being involved with those decisions. And you want your employees to understand and agree with the goals of your farm or your organization. Keith, you've had experience with this. Do you agree with those?
I sure do. And one of the things you just hit upon, I read a book not long ago about the Koch brothers, who basically took their father's $1 million business and made it into a multi-billion-dollar business. And one of their philosophies were they hired the person. Character was paramount, integrities, and then the willing to learn. And they didn't care if you had a college degree, if you had a high school diploma or whatever. Those were the parameters. And if you met those parameters and they didn't have a spot for you, they'd put you in the mailroom knowing they can develop you when that position came open. And most of the people that work there are lifers, and they've gone up the corporate ladder. It was kind of interesting, their philosophy and training, developing their employees.
And that's a good point. A lot of jobs out there, in reality, you probably don't have to have college degrees, but you do have to have that attitude to learn and
Exactly.
to work and good, upstanding character um, and integrity. And that's what the employers are looking for because they'll train you. You go through college and, you know, you get an education. Most employers, they realize they're still going to have to train you coming out of college. You've had some summer jobs and you've been to college, so you can learn. You're not, you're smart. The thing with college, it shows that you have dedication. You have I don't know a better word for this. I just call it stick to itness because, college is
Hmm.
stressful, but you stick with it and you work and you get through it. And to me, looking at it from an employer type standpoint, that shows that you're going to follow through even when it gets tough. And you know how to prioritize because you think about everything going on in college, you're working, or I did, you got classes, then you got extracurricular activities, and you got to balance that out and prioritize. So they're looking at that too. So and they realize you're going to end up, they're going to have to train you. So that attitude, looking at it from you guys' perspective, getting ready to hit the workforce, uh, that's what they're going to be looking at. So keep that in mind because that's what you want to demonstrate in these job interviews. Uh, Also, the companies or organizations and farmers, you know, they want you as an employee, they want that desire for you to grow and learn and to get better, to better yourself. And um, and if you've had some involvement in decision making or experience in the past, that's great. That's a plus. And they also need you to realize, or they want people that are tolerant because sometimes things aren't successful. You learn from your mistakes. So they want you to be able to, we'll give this a shot. May not work out, but we're going to learn from our mistakes, revamp, and try it again. So those are some additional traits that employers like uh, in their workers for involving them in decision making. Now, when we think about actually making a decision or solving a problem, there's not a standard rule that you have to go by. It's always different. As Dr. Guy always says, it depends. So the approach varies with each situation. But, there's some guidelines that we can look at. Number one, you look at the problem itself. Uh, Information relevant to the problem, uh, and usually usually the organization knows that there's a problem. Um, and uh, Employee acceptance is critical to whatever you implement, whether it's going to be successful or not. So the employees need to accept it for that to be successful. So you got to approach, you got to look at the problem itself and uh, the information there with it. You have to have your employees to accept it. And then the other thing we got to look at is time pressures. Can we take a little bit of time to solve this, or is this going to be, we got to make some pretty quick decisions? And that varies. And sometimes you just do it. If you're out there baling hay and you have a flat on your tractor, you're not going to hesitate. You're going to call the tire repair guy and get him out there as soon as possible, right? Because you just got to get it done. You got to get your tractor going again. But there's other times, uh, you know, you have time. You can sit back and look at that situation. You have more time to make a decision. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Aaron and Jasmine, y'all with me?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
And
Seems
then
better.
the last one we look at with making decisions or solving a problem or the organization's traditions and values. What's the value system of the organization? Uh, where do they put their emphasis? So uh, those are the things we look at. The problem itself, time pressures, and organization traditions, values on how we approach a problem and solve it. Does that seem reasonable with you guys?
Yes.
You
One
agree
thing
with
I'd add
me?
to one thing I'd add to it,
Uh-huh.
be flexible, because you're in today's work environment. What you do yesterday might not pertain to today, and you might have to change in midstream.
That's a good one. I agree. You're going to have to be flexible. Now, what do you think is the reason that a lot of projects fail?
Well, there's several things, but first thing that comes to mind, was the project sufficiently funded for completion? A lot of times they have great ideas, but they don't fund it all the way, and you get to a point that you run out of money.
Okay, that could be one. What else? Jasmine or Aaron, what's your guess on why a lot of projects fail?
You may not have everybody working together on the same page.
Okay, people might not have bought into it or willing to accept it. Can you think of anything else?
Maybe the people don't have the ability to complete it.
Okay, lack of ability. Uh, and those are all good answers. I'm not knocking them at all. And they all, you know, they're all parts of can be reasons why things fail. Uh, According to the book, the the main reason a lot of projects fail is simply due to the lack of follow through. The supervisors, leadership, they just don't follow through to make sure it's progressing and people are buying in. So, if it's not, as from a worker standpoint, they're looking at it, if they don't care enough to follow through and check up on this and see how it's going, it must not be important enough to do. And I know that's really simple and really basic, but the author of the book, in his wisdom and research, feels that's the number one reason why projects fail is lack of follow through.
Was that on the employer's part or an employee's part?
On the employer's part. The supervisors and upper management just don't follow through with the progression of that project. They just don't check on it.
Which I do see. I have seen plenty of that through the years.
Oh, I have too.
Plenty
And
of it.
although
Even here, I was gonna say,
Yeah,
even
so-
here at the college and even at our church, any organization, they come up with ideas, and then 2 weeks later, there's the next big idea, and they forget about the last one.
Yeah, and if you don't and if the organization doesn't follow through and make sure things are going and people are working on the project, it's just sending a message. It's not important enough for them to follow through. They don't really care about it. And I've been guilty of that, guys. I'm not gonna lie to you. Not so much at work, but like with organizations I've been involved with. And I see it with my wife's nonprofit she does. If people, if she doesn't check on them, or if I wasn't checked on to see if I was, taking care of something, I'd forget about it. And it's a volunteer thing, but it just didn't get done because they didn't follow through to make sure I wasn't having any trouble or running into issues getting this thing accomplished. And I guess I figured, if it's not important enough for them, it's not important enough for me to waste my energies doing it. So I agree with him, or agree with the author. And I think we've all been somewhat guilty of that. I see it with my wife all the time. She'll tell me to do something, and I'm thinking, how important is it that I do this? And if it's not if I don't think it's that important, I'm not going to mess with it. And if she never brings it up again, it never gets done. If she brings it up a second time, then it's a different ballgame. Obviously, she thinks it's more important than me. Because I don't want her to bring it up a third time. So, nobody's laughing with me on that one. Y'all must do it the first time, you other married men in here. You've already learned your lessons.
We're just crying with you, not laughing.
Yes.
Oh, I'm laughing. I'm not crying about it. It's just the way it is. So I kind of rushed through these on chapter 10. That's all of chapter 10 because I wanted to make sure I got through those. So, because some of this stuff is on the exam, as I told you, so I wanted to make sure I kind of got through it, and I did kind of rush through it. But now that I've gotten through this, how would you expound on? You want to, looking at some of this stuff in more detail. You have any questions or any comments with attributes of supervisors or workers or how to approach problems.
I think the biggest thing, realize that the supervisor is just the middleman, and he's getting stuff coming and going. And so sometimes people react to the supervisor, he's the big evil person, but all he's doing is implementing what his boss told him to do. And so a lot of times people take it personally when they're told that you have to change midstream, because you might be doing one project and management comes and says, nope, our emphasis are different. We have to do this now. And the person could be in the middle of driving a nail and say, stop, you can't complete it. You got to move on to this project. And sometimes employees resent that and don't understand it, and will take it out on their supervisor.
And that's where that flexibility comes in. Because in reality, I can be sarcastic and say that never happens. And hopefully you would know I was being sarcastic. But in reality, that happens all the time. Because new information or something else happened that's critical that we got to take care of. It's more important than what you're doing now. That's something that happens all the time. And we were talking about supervisors a few chapters back and all the different hats that they wear. Probably one reason they get paid more, because they're kind of in the middle between management and the workers, and they've got to play peacekeeper. They get yelled at on both sides of the spectrum from the management. They get their workers voice their displeasure, and so that person walks a fine line.
And a piece of advice that I was given a long time ago in my career: if you want to get ahead, make your supervisor, your boss, look good.
And I agree totally. From a worker standpoint, whatever you can do to make them look good, go ahead and do it. Now, I agree with that thoroughly. And I've always tried to live by that mantra. The better job I did, it always made my supervisors look better. And, and it's helped me. And then from a supervisor aspect of it, you've got to have an attitude that you want to work with your workers, and your workers aren't working for you. Because if you have that superior attitude towards your workers, they're just working for you, you're not going to go far with them. If you're willing to go in there and know how to do their jobs, help them with their jobs, do what you can do to make them successful, and get the job done, it goes a lot further than the attitude that you're just a worker. You've got to work with them. You've got to treat them the way you want to be treated. And, we've heard, and the world's full of stories about supervisors that just thrive off of authority and treat everybody mean. And some of us have had experiences like that. Some of us are new to the workforce and haven't experienced anything like that. And some of us have been very fortunate of having good supervisors. So, but they are out there, and just don't be one of those. If you get one of those, you're going to have to deal with it until you can find something better.
And one of the things that come into play for evaluation, a lot of things, what you do outside of your job, between 8 to 4, 8 to 4:30, whatever, in your free time, so to speak, how involved are you within ag-related activities? For example, do you volunteer with a 4-H club or Future Farmers of America, or even join some of the civic groups like the Ruitons, for example? And believe it or not, a lot of your supervisors and upper management folks participate in those things. It's a good way for you to network and kind of get to know your boss on a different level, and it kind of really helps you on the day-to-day job, having that additional connection.
I didn't catch all that, Keith. I'm sorry that I was talking to the tech people about what the problem is. I wasn't trying to be
I just
rude.
said I sent you a check for $1 million, but I guess you're not going to get it now.
I guess not.
No, just to
They really been
rephrase,
checking this out.
well, I was just saying that what you do outside of your daily job and duties, as far as getting involved in community activities, 4-H Club, Futures Farmers America, Ruetan Club, because a lot of times you will develop relations, networking, and uh, meet your boss or your supervisor at a different level and get to know them a little bit better, and also possibly get leads for new opportunities and jobs.
That's right. And if you think back to one of our first classes, one of the things that employers expect from their employees is to represent the business well in the community, right? Uh, so being involved in civic organizations or volunteering activities, uh, you know, that goes along. That's representing the company in a good light. Even if it's whatever it is, coaching your kids' soccer team or baseball team or whatever, or being on the fair committee or the Lions Club or Junior Women's League or whatever it is. You're being part of that community and taking an interest in that community. And just as Keith said, you get to know people. You get to know the who's who of the community, and you know maybe even more. Like you said, that your supervisors on a different level. But that goes a long way for your networking. If you're looking to find a new job or hearing about new job possibilities, the old saying of who you know, it's not what you know, it's who you know. That really holds true, guys. So, I've had people call me, with groups I've worked with, uh, and say, hey, you know, such and such has an opening if you're looking to switch jobs. I think that'd be a good fit for you, or something of that nature. So that has happened. Uh, Anybody else have anything else they'd like to discuss or contribute?
I just want to emphasize the emails that Dr. Dalton and Mr. Scales sends us about different workshops and conferences and stuff. I think it behooves students to take advantage of these because those are where you make the contacts and you get the people's names, faces, and business cards. So when you're applying to schools or applying for jobs, it kind of separates you from the crowd. They already know who you are, what you look like, and they say, aha, yeah, they made a good impression on me. So you go from the circular file into the inbox, and the circular file is a trash can. And so you get a leg up on a competition because I think I was reading there's about 3,000 applicants for every job opening out there. So I mean, competition is fierce.
It is. I remember one of the classes Dixie taught, and I don't remember which one it was, but it might have been the marketing class, and I haven't sat in here with Tom to see if he does this, because my position at the college changed since then. But she made the students have, what did she call it? The elevator speech or something along those lines.
Yeah, yeah, the elevator speech. Yeah, I
You
actually
want
talked about it. It was in the no, it's in this finance class. If time allows, we'll spend a few minutes talking about it near the end of
Yeah,
the
go
semester.
ahead.
Oh, it's the idea of coming up with the if you were to get on a elevator with somebody that you really needed to talk to, somebody, a money person or something like that, or somebody that runs a business that you'd like to work at or something, what would you pitch be? Because you're in the elevator with this person and you're only going to be in that elevator for what, a minute, two? So what would you say? What would your message be that you would tell to this person? And you kind of need to figure it out, and that really goes back to thinking about who you are as a person, who you are as an employee, what your goals are. But you don't want to just say, I like what you do, and can you give me a job? Because you need to be pitching what it is about you, what you would bring to the company, how you would add value to their organization, so why they should consider giving you a chance or something like that. But,
So,
go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say how that ties in with what Keith was saying about going to those conferences and meeting people. If there's somebody there you meet, that you really want to work for, you have that on hand is to go ahead and give them that little speech. Because first off, you already got a leg up by being there against the other competitors. They're putting a face to your name on the resume they're about to get. And then, whatever you say, hopefully will stick out in their mind.
Yeah. It's like, what you would say if you were to get set up on a date? You kind of know the lines that you'd use and the stories you'd tell and what you would try to say in order to impress that person on a date if it was a blind date or something like that. Well, same thing as far as business.
Yeah, I can tell you something else, and I'm not real good for this at all. My dad, we'd be working, right? And if a part broke down, we had to run to town to go get another part. He would go in the house, change his clothes, wash his face, change his clothes, go to town. We get what we needed. Then he'd come back, change clothes again, and go back out and continue what we were doing. And to me, I always thought that was a waste of time. I'm not going to lie to you. We're just going over to the tractor dealership or the farm bureau or to the parts store to get what we need, and then we're coming back. Why the hassle of changing clothes? And he looked at me and he said, because you don't know who you're going to meet out there at that store. He said, my job, he said, I'm an accountant at a, they made mining machinery. He goes, I'm an accountant up there. I need to look professional whenever I'm out in public. And that's what he was. And that never has really stuck with me. I mean, if I'm covered in grease and I'm broke, working on something, I got to run the store, I'm going to go to the store. I'm not going to change. And, that's not good attitude on my part, because what if I ran into one of the other big wig farmers that took the time to change, because they're going to be there at the store as well, getting something, or a high likelihood, because you got tractors, they're going to break down. Equipment's going to break down, or you're going to the co-op to get some more medicine because you misjudged the dosage or whatever, So, how you present yourself in public, and dress and stuff, that can make a difference. And I'm telling you something, trying to tell you to do that when I good and well don't do it myself. But, I go over there to southern states and everybody else is dressed like I am. So I justify it, but it doesn't make it right. So look at, your presentations with your shoes shined up and stuff like that when you out. So anyway, any other comments?
I was sharing this story with Mr. Scales after last Tuesday's class, talking about the interviewing and hiring process. I had the opportunity. I was doing the final field interview for candidates before they were sent to the home office in New Jersey, and I had to come up with one candidate and had two extremely equal candidates, and it was almost down to flip a coin. I even called the home office and said, I got two candidates. They're willing to move anywhere in the country. I think you need to hire both of them. I want to send both of them up. And my boss, regional manager, says, nope, you've got to make a decision. You're only going to get to send one of them up to the home office. Because usually if that's the case, it's just a rubber stamping. They get a job offer and sign the paperwork and stuff. So I didn't know what to do. And so my regional manager says, have you mailed your weekend mail yet? Because it was on a Monday, and I said no. And he says, have one of them drive you to the post office to mail it, then evaluate that, then have the second one drive you to the post office. So I was thinking to myself, what a waste of time this is. So I went out to the car with the person. The car was immaculately clean. The person backed out, came to a full stop at a stop sign. The speed limit was 25 miles an hour away to the post office. So I mailed one of the forms. So I said, okay, this is no biggie. I couldn't understand the whole time why I'm wasting my time doing this. So I got back, had the second potential candidate drive me to the airport. I went to her car. Don't think it was ever washed. There were chicken bones in the floorboard. I think she had, it looked like she lived in her car. And she didn't stop at the stop sign. I think her lowest speed was 50 miles per hour to the post office. And I got back and I called my regional. I says, now I know. So I sent that person the right one up. And believe it or not, she went to the corporate ladder and got a note not long ago. She retired as one of the vice presidents. So I just thought that was kind of a neat experience, knowing that I started her campaign to success.
I tell you what, I've learned a lot with your little stories with the mind games that companies play. Like the hotel deal and the car. Now I live out of my truck. I'm like that second person, unfortunately. I've got all sorts of stuff in my truck I got to get cleaned out. But at least I know where it is. I'm out there, and if it's hay season, I've got extra twine in my truck. I've got my tools. I've got but still not an excuse for a messy truck.
I'll tell you another one that has validity to it. I don't know if you've been on a job interview. They might have a form that you already have nice typed up, ready to give to them, and they say, well, we want you to fill out the application. And you'll say, well, I'll take it back because, you want to type it, or in a kind of relaxed way. No, they want you to fill it out on there. And they actually judge your handwriting as a predictor of your success. It's amazing that a lot of the stuff that they put through there. And then they will give you like 100 questions to answer. Like, what's your favorite color? What's your favorite food? What's your favorite TV? I mean, all kinds of stupid questions. And they've correlated those questions with people who are successful in the position that you're applying for. So if you get matches with them, that means, aha, you have the same personality or work traits as people who have been successful in that area. So you need to kind of study up on the position you're applying for to find out what makes those people tick.
Interesting. Jasmine and Aaron, are y'all listening to this?
Yes.
Yeah, years ago I had. I was gonna say years ago I was applying for some kind of position selling water filter stuff, and they had me sit down and I had to do this long personality test. I mean, and it was asking questions that had nothing to do with anything about sales or anything like that. It was just, almost at a level, I can't remember because it's been probably 15 years ago or more, by 20 years ago, but it's like, asking things, about the, what's your favorite color tree or whatever, that kind of stuff. And it was all about finding out my personality type. Did I have the personality to where I could actually sell somebody something? And the answer was no. Because I would, in retrospect, I would feel guilty if I sold somebody something and it broke down and didn't work and all that kind of stuff. I'd feel guilty personally that I suckered somebody. But they were asking all these weird questions about stuff, but it sort of boiled, it bubbled that to the surface that I didn't have that right personality type they were looking for.
Yeah, I had a similar experience with that as well, Tom. Farm Bureau was looking to hire another agent several years back, and I applied for that position. And they gave me that personality test, or gave me a personality test as well. And like you said, it, you know, didn't have anything to deal with insurance. And turns out I didn't have the right personality to sell insurance because I sure didn't get a call back from them.
And those tests continue on through your career. Even though you're working for the company and you've been recommended for a position, you'll have to take another test like that just to go and make. And you're sitting there, well, they know how I do, how I work, and I wouldn't be considered. But they want the closest you can score that corresponds to the person that they consider successful. The better the match, the more likelihood of you getting that promotion for that next position.
Huh. I remember one of the questions on that test asked me if I was I was doing a play, an actor in a play, would I want to be the head actor or would I want just a supporting role? And I have no desire to be an actor. I'm like, I'm more one of these guys that I'd sooner work behind the scenes and not be recognized and it be, to get it successful, be one of those grunts back there to do stuff and be the one that takes a spotlight.
Well, you know what that question was asking you, right?
If I'm outgoing enough and
No, it's asking very simple. Are you a leader or are you a follower?
And that's the kind of question I was seeing on that other test myself.
Yeah.
Companies want to hire leaders.
Yeah. I guess I'm a follower then. In some aspects. But I just took the question, do I really want to be if I was an actor, where would I want to be? And I just want to be hidden away somewhere to doing my job. But
one of the best books that anybody could read, I would recommend be required reading, and it's been around, I would say, probably 30 or more years, but the title of the book is called What Color is Your Parachute? And it's a very easy reading book, but has a lot of common sense approach to how to handle questions, how to develop an elevator talk, just very common sense approach stuff. So you come off polished, but intelligent in your presentations.
What color is your parachute? I'm going to have to get that.
Yeah, it's that book's been around for probably 20 years now. But yeah, that's one of those books.
All right.
Because I know the college pays you so much money that you can go out and buy them.
Yeah, especially if you're just adjunct, like I am. So that's. But I think it would be a book. It would be you could, incorporate stuff in, or help me get a better job on. So. Anyway, so the exam covers, I think it was chapter 5, chapter 5 or 6, I can't remember what the last one covered. I think this one's like from 5 to 10. Discussion questions again. And yeah, it's from chapters 5 to 10. There's a study guide there on Blackboard. I know you can't see it if I put it up. The IT people said they're just going to have to just reboot the system. So if y'all had a chance to look at that study guide.
Yes.
Okay, so
I glanced at it.
Okay, Aaron, what about you?
Yeah, I've got a chance to look at it.
Okay. It's not. Uh, I don't think it's that difficult. You do the study guide and can do this. I think you'll be all right for the exam. Uh, from orientation all the way through what we went today. So, uh, I don't think it's not tricky. It's just straightforward discussion. So, uh, but if you're studying for it and you need clarification, don't be afraid to call me. And Keith, I got your offer letters and rejection letters yesterday. I haven't had a chance to grade them,
Okay.
but I think that probably finishes you up for those assignments, doesn't it?
I think so.
So that has to be a relief off your shoulders.
It is. And as I was looking at the calendar, and I can't believe how fast the semester is moving along.
It is flying by. And I think, I tell you something else interesting. I know we haven't had class a couple times just due to we were on late schedule. Yesterday was one of them for the snow schedule because y'all weren't. Um, but somebody was saying this is the first time in 20 years that the college has not closed due to inclement weather.
Don't worry, the semester's not over.
No, it's not over.
We
But
can get a hurricane in April.
yeah,
We do
I
that.
just hope we're done with the snow. I mean, we've had April blizzards here too. But here today's the 16th. We got 4 more days before spring officially starts. March 20th.
It's something like that, 20th, 21st, I don't know.
It changes sometimes. So
6 weeks after Groundhog Day.
yeah. So I know it's usually the 20th or 21st. Time changed Sunday, so we got an extra hour of daylight of the evenings, and spring will be here this weekend. And yesterday was Pi Day for you for any of you that may be geeks. Did y'all celebrate Pi Day? Not yesterday, but Tuesday. Did y'all celebrate Pi Day?
Absolutely.
I do it every day.
It was 314. Remember from high school geometry, pi is 3.14. La 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 la. I saw a thing on the news. Some baseball team lined up. Their jerseys were 3-1 or 3-4. Another guy was 14, and then the numbers. It's infinite number for pi.
Oh, like,
they were out there for however many numbers there was.
oh, cool.
Yeah. That was the most interesting one I saw with the Pi Day. So I guess that kind of makes me fall into the geek category to even realize it was Pi Day, but that's just because I saw it on Facebook.
Yes, I have 3 Raspberry Pi computers, the Pi being PI. But anyway, I'm right there with you.
I didn't know such a day existed.
Well, then you have May the 4th being Star Wars Day.
Really? Why is
Yeah,
that?
May the 4th be with you.
Oh, May the 4th be with you.
Yes, so that is it's a legitimate, well, quote unquote, legitimate thing too. So you got 6 weeks to prepare for that one.
When you said pie, I was thinking of the pie that you ate.
Yeah, I did too. And then when I saw it wrote out, and I was like, oh yeah, 314.
Which was also Einstein's birthday.
Really?
Yes.
Did you know he developed his theory of relativity when he was driving through West Virginia?
No, I didn't.
So he sucked all the intelligence out of the state then?
No, I think he just saw the family tree didn't have too many branches. Kind of went straight up.
You're not from West Virginia, are you?
That's just a little joke I don't know. I don't think there's any truth to that. It's just a little joke somebody made up. I thought was funny. You know how they're always razzing about West Virginia. My parents are from West Virginia, so I can't say a whole lot. Uh, but tonight, guys, Virginia Tech plays, and we got to root on those Hokies, right? Y'all disagree? Come on, don't tell me you're UVA fans.
Oh, no, we're telling West Virginia jokes offline over here.
Oh, okay. Aaron and Jasmine,
I'm
y'all gonna
definitely a
root for
Tech
the
fan.
Hokies tonight?
I suppose.
Which
Oh, if I had
I'm
to
a Tech
twist
fan,
y'all.
which is why I don't really follow college basketball because the two never really go along together very well.
Well, I don't really follow college basketball until the tournament because there's so many games. I'll take a look every once in a while, see how Tech's doing, but you know what the record is because since the days of Dale Curry and Alan Perry Young, Tech has not been good at basketball until this year. So
Yes.
they're going to the dance. So
Yep.
hopefully they'll be successful.
They need to keep a coach long enough to make something happen, and every coach that they bring in has an entirely different philosophy of how to play the game, and so he's got entirely the wrong set of athletes on the court. So that's pretty much what their
Buzz
problem has been.
Williams, Seth Greenberg, I liked him, but he just didn't seem to have any success there. He does a real good job commentating, and I'm glad he's being successful at that job. But I like this Buzz Williams guy. I think he's been doing a really good job.
Did you ever
I
go
tell you what,
on internet and see the thing about the standing for the national anthem that he put out?
yes,
That was amazing.
I thought that was amazing. He did that.
Tears came to my eyes.
Yeah, he kind of put things in perspective for him. And I'm glad he did that. Virginia has a good coach. That Tony Bennett, that his name?
No clue. UVA is a pit of all that is evil in this world, so I really have no clue what's going on there.
I know. And now Charlottesville's wanting to remove a statue of Robert E. Lee.
Oh my!
I don't know.
There's an article in the paper, and they don't have enough money to pay their bills, but they have $250,000 to move the statue.
I mean, that's history. So I don't know.
But
Right,
you know
guys.
why it's so windy in Charlottesville?
All the hot air from.
No, because UVA sucks.
Oh. Yeah. I tell you what, now they scare me. They got two good coaches. They got that Bronco Mendenhall for football, and they got that Tony Bennett. I know I shouldn't root. I should, they're a Virginia school, and I should pull for them, but I'll pull for them a little bit in basketball, but that's about it. And that's just if Tech gets knocked out. But
I can't pull for.
it's a hard pill to swallow to do that.
Yeah, there's no way I could root for UVA. Just like I couldn't root for Atlanta in the Super Bowl. There's just no way.
Yeah. I find it hard to root for Notre Dame. I just don't like Notre Dame. And Miami. I just can't root for Miami either. So, anyway, all right, guys, y'all have a good weekend. Good luck on your exam. And if you have any questions, give me a call. Because they're Time is up. You look like you're deep in thought there, Keith.
Oh,
Thanks, sir.
he's talking to me. I'm
Oh,
talking to him more appropriately, more accurately.
all right. Well, y'all have a good weekend, and I'll see you Tuesday.
Be sure,
And
be sure and get that book and let me know what you think of it.
Or get the audio book and listen to it while you're traveling this weekend.
that's, so what color is your parachute?
That's it.
Who wrote that?
Boy, I just remember the title of the book. I can't remember the details.
For whatever
Okay.
reason, the name Covey popped into my mind, but you go to Amazon and you'll find it. You won't miss it.
Huh. I know Covey's wrote a couple good books. I've read those. I didn't know he wrote that one.
He might not have, but just that's the name that bubbled in my mind. But
But
you,
it very well be something he did right. I saw him speak one time. He's a good speaker. It was right after the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People came out, and he was speaking, and it was a very interesting lecture or speech. He sure kept your attention.
And I think he also wrote another good book. Was it The 1 Minute Manager?
Yeah, I think so.
What Colors Your Parachute was written by Richard Bowles, Bolles,
Okay.
and they've got different ones. What colors your parachute for teens? What colors your parachute? 2015, 2016, 2017. The original one maybe is by a guy named Nelson. There's what colors your parachute for retirement?
I
But
just want just the
I don't
basic
know.
book. So,
Yeah, it's been
I'll
out
look
probably
at it.
20 years. That's why I'm trying to find the right one now. I think it.
I
Anyway.
tell you what, these stories Keith said, it really, all these mind games, I just had no clue.
Well, basically, you have so many qualified people, and they're splitting hairs, and a company spends about $50,000 on you by the time they offer you the job, and then they're going to train you, and so you don't return investment probably about the third year, and they've got $1 million tied up in you, and so the worst thing they can do is make a bad hire, and so they try to get as close as possible who they think the ideal candidate is, and mold that person after the person that has the position that's successful in that position.
Oh,
Oh, that ain't right. This is
makes
2012.
sense, which is why we're doing this hiring process.
And I never had a course in HR, so this is all new to me, seeing it down in the techniques. It's like last year when I took Mr. Ayers' class in salesmanship. I never had a class in sales before either, because I was purely a chemistry biology major in college.
I've never had a class in computers.
Yeah.
So you sold medical equipment? Was that it?
Pharmaceuticals,
Pharmaceuticals.
drugs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My brother-in-law was selling for Johnson Johnson equipment.
A good friend of mine had a job selling pharmaceuticals, and did that for years.
I left the
And then,
teaching profession and I went into this, and I thought I died, gone to heaven, and it's the best job I ever had. I didn't realize how hard I worked and underpaid as a teacher, and I feel sorry for teachers. And my wife's a retired teacher too.
so what did you teach? Biology and chemistry at high school?
I used to teach anatomy, physiology, and pathology. I used to be a research person at Eastern Virginia Medical School in Norfolk years ago.
Okay. Cool.
I could use a tutor for anatomy and physiology.
I did that.
That's just good.
Pathology would be tough. I don't think I'd like to be a pathologist trying to figure out margins on skin cancers, trying to figure out what type of skin cancer it is, and what kind of
We used to get the
bacteria
students over,
it is.
and they want to see what was going on. And the first day of class, we did an autopsy, and that you're talking about cutting out the weeds from the shaft. That was a major thing. So that was our screening process at that point to who's going to progress to the next level.
Yeah, I probably would have went and dropped the class as well. Animals I can handle, people I can't.
In oh so many ways.
Yeah. My wife just laughs at me. She goes, "How can you have done stuff you've done? You know, sticking your arm up a cow and helping to deliver a calf or AIing, and yet you can't handle people stuff." No.
That's like me. I've been in people's guts, did everything, but I couldn't change my son or daughter's diaper. I got turned my stomach each time I try to do that.
Oh yeah. I can't stand a smelly diaper. I start gagging.
Yeah.
And luckily
My-
my wife and I don't have kids, so I don't have to change diapers.
My wife, she probably wouldn't hold hands with me if she knew all the places my hands have been.